And now to a bit of economic here. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has urged the Nigerian government to maintain its current economic reforms to ensure sustained growth and reduce poverty. IMF's Resident Representative for Nigeria, Dr. Christian Ebeke, made the call during the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry's International Business Conference and Expo 2024 titled Invest Nigeria. Ebeke highlighted that while Nigeria's economy appears to be on an upward trajectory, ongoing reforms are crucial for achieving significant growth. He stressed the need to address governance issues and improve business and regulations to boost the economy by 5 to 8% points annually. Now, according to Ebeke, continued reforms in these areas could potentially increase Nigeria's economic output by 6.4% over the next 3 years. And now joining us to discuss this, we're joined by an economist, Muda Yusuf. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I most appreciate you for doing this with us. Let's start with your assessment of, the IMF's advice to Nigeria to sustain economic reforms. How significant is this for the country's reforms, economic growth and reforms?
Well, it's very important, but I must say that we are already on course with the key reforms. 2 critical reforms we have undertaken, which is in line with what the IMF recommended. We had the foreign exchange reform. We also had the fuel subsidy removal, or partial removal, as is now the case. But the issue with IMF reform is that even the reforms that we have undertaken, we are still struggling to recover from the shocks of those reforms. We are at the phase of struggling to mitigate the impact of the reforms. So while some of these reforms are good, I think it is very important that we interrogate their effectiveness. And we also interrogate how far we should go with the reforms. Because from all indications, it seems necessary that some of the reforms needs to be properly fine-tuned so that it don't create more problems for the economy. Because what one can see from IMF proposition is that it's not sufficiently sensitive to the social outcomes of the reform.
And you're just talking about the economic reforms.
On jobs and Tesla.
Right. I mean, you're just talking about the economic reform. So far, so good. In Nigeria, what impact would you say it has had so far, besides the shocks that we've seen currently with the subsidy removal and the MPC's policy, that's a monetary policy, the committee so far? In all of these reforms, has it impacted Nigeria, in the last 1 year?
Well, there has been partial success. And there has been a lot of downsides to it, especially from the social point of view. That is what has happened. In the foreign exchange environment, for instance, we have seen a lot more transparency in the foreign exchange market, a lot more openness. But again, we have seen very significant shocks in terms of what the exchange rate depreciation had cost, and the volatility that we saw, at least in maybe some 6-9 months into the reform. In the last 2 months or so, we are seeing some stability, but before then, we are seeing some very serious volatility. And we also saw the impact, very serious impact that the exchange rate depreciation had on the cost of living, on the cost of production, on the manufacturing sector, and practically all sectors of the economy. So, and when you look at other aspects of the reform, like what the CBN is trying to do, trying to ensure
we seem to be losing out.
The inflation is tackled with high interest rates. So that we need to worry about as far as this reform is concerned. So my view is that, yes, the reforms are good, but we need to be very careful as to how far we go with the reforms. And we need to, from time to time, review the reforms and ensure that it doesn't do much damage, particularly with respect to the cost of living, with respect to the cost of production. As we speak now, the critical issues that we need, to prepare this economy are issues around insecurity. I mean, if you look at the GDP numbers that came out from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, our agricultural sector has not been doing quite well. It's doing under 2% growth. The manufacturing sector is also under 2% growth. So we need to look at all these critical factors, all these factors impeding the growth of investment, high cost of energy, problem of insecurity, the stability in the exchange rate, the issue of logistics. These are the critical issues that we should be focusing on. If the reforms are not delivering that, then we have to review those reforms. Because these are the things that are impeding the growth of the economy, that is making, creating challenges with respect to job creation, cost of living, and all of that. So these are the things that are much more important, perhaps even more than the GDP itself.
I wonder what strategies will be employed to achieve the projected, 5.8 annual growth rate, and how, realistic is this, target and projection for Nigeria. But that's a conversation for another day. But Dr. Muda Yusuf, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us today.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.